Welcome back, everybody who's been here before. If you haven't, just know that I used to do Game of Thrones reviews. I quit for a while. I have not watched the last 2 seasons, so this is going to be me jumping right in without a lot of knowledge from the last 2 seasons, only going off of what I can infer. And so this is definitely going to be one of those interesting kinds of reviews. I enjoy watching Game of Thrones. I enjoy going on rants about Game of Thrones. So I will talk about everything negative and positive as I see fit. So let's get started with this review. We start out this episode with Arya Stark and talk about some fan service because we get rid of the entire Frey house in a single swoop. I'm assuming that Arya ran away from her training and didn't actually complete it. So if you want to tell me what actually happened in the comments below as I do this review, whenever I make some mistakes, much appreciated. I don't mind spoilers, I guess, because I am jumping ahead. But this was a great, awesome way to start the season, because what's better than some fan service? We don't want to open up into some boring scene. We don't want to open up after waiting for this long for some mediocre stuff. So start off with a girl, Arya Stark. We know she's all about action, getting stuff done, and we love that. So we take care of the entire phrase. It's done in an excellent poetic justice sort of a way. She also, instead of telling people, I'm Arya Stark, and I'm coming after you, she says, tell them the North remembers. She wants to make sure that the North is not perceived as weak and unorganized, that the North can get stuff done. She's still here to represent her entire house and make sure that revenge is the most sweet poison that you could drink. So after that, Arya meets up with some Lannister soldiers by the road. I don't think it was intentional that she ran up on them. I don't think she is necessarily out to kill them. My theory is they set this up because they want to show Arya come into some sort of interaction with enemies that show that her enemies are human also, because they're sitting around talking about, their families, and as they're talking, it's not like they're necessarily expressing any loyalty in any house. In fact, when Arya casually reveals to us her next move, which is to kill the queen, they all laugh. They don't take offense to it as Lannister soldiers, nothing like that. So my theory is that she's actually going to leave this band of soldiers alone. I don't know though, but that's what I'm thinking. But we did find out that she is going after Cersei. That's her next move. And talking about Cersei, I think it's a great next move because Cersei is kind of crazy. I love her. She's an excellent character in my opinion. I think she was a really well-made character. But she's talking about building this empire and conquering an empire with enemies at literally every side of her. And I don't know what she's thinking about in terms of, what is it called, like battle plans and logical movements across the map, considering that she has enemies in the north, enemies in the south, enemies at basically all fronts. But she seems pretty confident, and as we find out, she did hit up Euron Greyjoy, another sort of outcast character that was supposed to be royalty, and kind of denies him after he blatantly disrespects her, but allows him to not make up to her, because he has no intentions of making up to her. He just wants to work with her, which means he's going to get her a gift. And I don't know why Cersei is so confident in only having ships. That only takes care of so many of your problems. You still need more allies than somebody who has a fleet. But she's confident in it. He's going to go get her a gift, which is more time wasting. So instead of enlisting his services, she's going to wait for him to get her a gift. And we don't know what that gift is going to be. My theory is that he's going to try to get her a dragon. That's what I'm thinking. So that aside, we go all the way up north to Winterfell, see how everyone's doing, and we see that Jon Snow and Sansa are sitting side by side, talking in front of a council, figuring out what's next best for the north. We have, for them, two different wars they have to consider, which is the north, which is the White Walkers coming, and the south, which is Cersei. But as we see, Arya's after Cersei, and Cersei's surrounded by enemies, not just the north. Cersei's surrounded by tons more enemies than the north even has. So there's a good chance that that skirmish might not even happen, especially since Cersei seems to be wasting time. But they're trying to figure out what they need to do next, and I do have some rantiness pending for these particular scenes that happened in Winterfell, because Sansa is my absolute favorite character, and over time it's changed from like Dany to Tyrion to just Sansa, and it's because she's probably the most shit on character in the show, and they continue to shit on her even in this scene where her and Jon Snow fight in front of the council. And I'm so mad that the show set it up like that, because Sansa once again basically just gets told that her opinion doesn't matter, which is something that she's been dealing with the entire show. I think that both her and Jon Snow had really good points, so this isn't me picking sides between Sansa and Jon Snow just because Sansa is my favorite. But instead of the show showing them having like a dialogue and talking as leaders, like one leader to another leader, and I do consider Sansa a leader. She is a Stark, and Jon Snow respects her for that and wants her to have everything that comes with being the last Stark. And he wants her to have that respect, but he also is the king of the north and therefore is a little higher in station. But that aside, instead of showing them having an actual discussion debating their two sides, they show them fight in front of the council, and even though the people were on Sansa's side saying, yeah, we should do the punishments for the, I believe it's the Karstarks, X, Y, and Z way, Sansa's way, Jon still says, no, that's not the way it's going to happen. And it just bothers me that it happened in front of this entire council, and just because the people are on her side didn't make it any less worse that she got shut down at the end. And the fact that afterwards, when she calls Jon Snow out on it, saying, hey, like, I had some good points, he still, in the end, just kind of shuts her down for her opinions anyways. And this just really bothers me, because I do want to see Sansa shown as a leader, and the show continuously undermines any opinions that she has, and it's just ridiculous, because even though she has been in constant abusive situations, every situation she's been in from the start of the show to the end has been court and political situations. Under Ned Stark, she was bred to be a lady who was going to either get married off to high royalty or the king himself, which was what ended up happening. She was going to marry King Joffrey. And after she was in Joffrey's care, she was in the court of King's Landing. And even under Cersei, under Ramsay, even under Littlefinger, she has been in court situations with Lysa in the Vale. Various different politics, various different court situations, all surrounded by different types of leaders. So if anybody who exists in the show, it would be Sansa, who would know what makes a good leader, what makes a bad leader, what to avoid, what to focus on. Sansa would know all of that, because she has been under, I don't know how to say it, like the tutelage, so to speak, of various political figures. She has been privy to various political situations, and she should have value in just that. So I'm tired of her getting undermined. So that's rant aside. But that's how I felt about those scenes. It was really frustrating to watch Sansa continuously get shut down. But after that, we have a little tidbit with Littlefinger. He's sticking around, and Sansa makes the comment, I know what he wants. And I don't know if that's her just being bitter, because we do see bitterness being a part of her character now. I don't know if she's just saying that to be bitter towards Littlefinger, or if she is going to take advantage of what it is that Littlefinger wants and make her own moves. But that bitterness aspect is kind of highlighted by the fact that Jon Snow compares her to Cersei, which, even though I love Cersei, it kind of bothers me because Sansa is not Cersei, and the fact that they're trying to parallel Sansa and Cersei when Sansa has so much more potential to take a different route from the route that Cersei has taken and become so much better of a political figure and a leader. The fact that they're comparing the two instead of contrasting the two is another thing that's really bothering me about the route that they've been going with Sansa. And so we're seeing Sansa becoming more hardened and bitter, and it's really sad to see them trying to compare her to Cersei and kind of reflect Cersei. So, she even makes a comment that she learned a lot from her, which, in my opinion, her learning a lot from Cersei would be how not to rule. And yet, they're making it seem like Sansa admires Cersei, which I don't think is anything close to what the case should be. But I guess that's the way the show's taking it, so. But that aside, we move into the Citadel and Samwell Tarly. And other than, this tedious, repetitive scene that we get showing how tedious and repetitive it is to be, an acolyte or something at the Citadel, a student at the Citadel, we don't get really much here except for them setting up what might be how Jon Snow gets in touch with Daenerys. Because we know that Daenerys is going to go to Dragonstone. It's in the title, it's in the trailer, it was mentioned by Cersei in her scene, and that's the most important part I took out of Samwell Tarly's scene. And I'm hoping that if Jon Snow and Daenerys get into touch because of Samwell Tarly's discovery, I'm hoping that Jon Snow actually sends Sansa over to Daenerys, because I feel under Daenerys, Sansa will get the best kind of opportunity to show her leadership skills. And I do and would totally ship Sansa and Daenerys way more than I would ship Daenerys and Jon Snow. Jon Snow is obviously really preoccupied with the North anyway, so Sansa kind of taking care of and mediating that bridge would be perfect in my opinion. And we would also kind of avoid a lot of the, expectations that Jon Snow and Daenerys are going to be a thing. I don't know. I don't like going for the most obvious answer for every single scene. That's too much fan service in my opinion. But next we see the Hound, which is another one of my favorite characters. One of these awesome side characters that just end up being really well fleshed out, and the show kind of adopted him as someone that they are going to focus on, it seems. And the problem with the Hound is I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to change him up towards a more redeemed character, and I appreciate it. I believe everybody's redeemable. Jaime got redeemed, Theon got redeemed, and they're showing the Hound becoming more empathetic with situations around him by burying those two serfs or whatever that he had previously met in a before scene, or previous season actually, but both were correct. Sorry, I get overwhelmed sometimes. But anyway, we see him transforming as a character. One thing that I thought was a little bit too out of character for the Hound, even for someone who was transforming, was him being able to see the vision in the fire. I think that was a little bit out of character, didn't really flow into the story as much as It should have. I think that if he did see anything in the fire, that he would have still, even though he's transforming as a character, he still would have denied that he saw anything. I think we should have had a scene set up where he saw something in the fire and we, as the audience, saw that he saw something in the fire, perhaps with, just like a blended scene of what was happening as he was looking in the fire, and then after we get what it is that he saw in the fire, he tells them, no, I didn't see anything in the fire. Because I don't think him, one, seeing something in the fire and then just admitting it after just seconds before, being bitter that Beric Dondarrion is a walking proof that a deity has power. I don't think after being that bitter just a few seconds before to fully admitting that, he had a vision himself kind of goes with his character. But that aside, lastly, I'm going to cover Daenerys. I know a couple other scenes happened that I didn't mention, but I didn't really have much to say on those. So I want to know, ending on the Daenerys note, why the heck is Daenerys one of the most boring characters? They try to include her because she is totally badass and she has so much potential and she has dragons. But every time, the season drags on, other than like one or two episodes where she has a really badass scene, she's kind of boring for the rest of it. And it just sucks because, there's a time where she just got her baby dragons and then she got them stolen, and literally most of the season was her, where are my dragons? Boring. Totally a waste of a character who just got dragons. And here we are, we arrive on Dragonstone, and it was the most underwhelming scene that I had ever seen. They could have cut it a lot more short and made it a lot more epic with some music, saying, here Daenerys has arrived, to her home, or I guess, a piece of her history, a piece of, her people, that much closer to achieving what it is that she has worked so hard for. And yet I didn't really feel that sentiment that I think we were supposed to. It was rather boring, and I hate it because Daenerys, before the show existed, was my all-time favorite character from A Song of Ice and Fire. But anyways, that's that, and that's my review. I do these totally kind of ranty, rambly types of reviews without editing, so I'll see you guys next time. Let me know if you guys want to fight me in the comments below, and if not, forever hold your peace. But yeah, let me know if I have any discussion topics that you guys want to cover, and I'll get to those as well. So thank you for your time. Bye.